My name is Michael Randolph, and I believe that nonprofits rise. And I say that because it is nonprofits that are providing a safety net for people that are going through so many obstacles in life. Black nonprofits, unfortunately, are at a more disadvantage than white nonprofits and other race nonprofits. Let's talk about that. So I call this crisis in Black nonprofits. When we look at all nonprofits across the board, according to Forbes, 50% of new nonprofits will close within the first 12 months. 50%. Now, the Center for Charitable Statistics put that number lower at 30%. So anywhere between 30 to 50% of nonprofits failed in the first year. In year two and year three, even more nonprofits failed. When it comes to Black nonprofits, on the other hand, let's look at that. Let's look at the numbers. Only 12% of Black nonprofits operate with at least one paid staff. On the other hand, 58% of white nonprofits operate with at least one staff person. Nearly 1/3 of nonprofits, Black nonprofits, receive $30,000 or less a year. They're made up mostly of volunteers. When we look at the average, we see that Black organizations receive 24% less than those in white organizations. That is, as a whole, we receive 24% less than white organizations. Black women nonprofits get the least funding. 66% of white organizations had a surplus, where only 49% of Black nonprofits had a surplus. When we look at the different funding sources, we see related to corporate donations, white, Black versus white. Whites are 72% versus Black at 58%. When we look at revenues from sales, whites are 23%, while African Americans are only at 11%. If we look at monies coming from the federal government, 46% white, 32% Black. When we look at income coming from investors, 33% white and 16% Black. 50% or more of white nonprofits receive unrestricted funds versus only 22%, 26% of Black nonprofits. Why is this important? It is those unrestricted funds that pay the salary of the executive directors and those other entities that's important for the organization to run, but are not part of a particular program. That's where you bring in your unrestricted funds and you combine that with program funds. So as you can see, the state of African American nonprofits, specifically Black female nonprofits, is at a concerning, it is a great concern, of great concern. But let's talk about how we change that narrative. So I grew up in one of the most violent and poverty-stricken communities in the nation. And to be specific, Baltimore City, specifically the Sandtown Winchester community. Coming from a poor community, my observation throughout the entire Baltimore City, especially when it came to Black communities, was that programs will come in and programs will leave, with the community basically in the same position or worse than it was before those programs got there. I committed my life to trying to gauge and how do you put the community in a winning position? What is the mindset, skills that you have to gather if my journey begun? I started as a community organizer. From there, I went to being a program designer, designing programs, to fundraiser, grant writing, those other things that bring in money, to a community strategic planner, designing comprehensive solutions in urban distressed neighborhoods. There was a whole lot. But basically, what it means that changing the narrative when it comes to poor neighborhoods. So I started the nonprofit development corporation in 2011. Coming to the table with over 35 years of experience and working in, so especially community development corporations and those other types of high-level nonprofits. With the skills I gathered from that period of time, I decided in 2011 to start this organization to begin to change the narrative when it comes to those numbers that we went over earlier. Let me quote. What is 12% of nonprofits, only 12% of nonprofits have one paid employee. 1/3 of Black nonprofits receive less than 30,000, most are volunteer. And the funding mechanism to these organizations is also working against them. This organization was started to change that narrative. And we do that by providing technical support in the area of effective skill set to start up and existing nonprofits to enhance, increase, and strengthen their capacity to service their clients. Okay, I know that was a whole lot related to what we do. But the way we do what we do, and the reason why we're so successful in working with nonprofits is because the product that we produce includes being plausible, feasible, fundable, sellable, sustainable, marketable, and certainly our programs are affordable. These are the skill sets that when you bring it to the table, that those numbers that we talked about earlier related to Black nonprofit, this is how we change the narrative. And we've been working with nonprofits throughout the nation to show that the narrative can be changed. We have to date provided assistance to over 2,500 nonprofits, government agencies, faith-based groups, businesses, and individuals. Specifically in our top training program, and we have a list of different programs that we provide, is the how to start, how to operate, how to finance, and how to grow a nonprofit. I would say about 80% of the people that we provided assistance to was through that training program. We've worked with over 300 nonprofits in over 10 states to get their nonprofit status. That is, provided the paperwork for them to get it started. In addition to working with them in other areas. You can contact us at the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development at gmail.com. That's the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development and Community at gmail.com. So who am I talking to, hopefully, during this presentation? If you're a new nonprofit, especially if you're an African-American nonprofit, and you're just getting started, and you're finding that you're struggling, that funding is not coming in. If you're an existing nonprofit, and you're living like almost from paycheck to paycheck, or from grant to grant, because you have no sustainable financial plan, and you have no way to create sales for your organization, you want to contact us. Hopefully, we get an opportunity to work with you in fulfilling your dream as a nonprofit. African-American nonprofits, when it comes to the land, we don't fare well. We do not fare well. That's why we provide these services to change the narrative. So feel free to contact us. If you want to contact us for only for a list of the different training programs that we offer. And those training programs include how to do a business plan, how to write a grant, how to put together a strategic plan, a logic model, a theory of change, and that list goes on in terms of the different training programs that we do provide. So hit us up. And if you definitely are struggling as a nonprofit, or you're starting a new nonprofit and you want to make sure that you come out the gate running, get in contact with us. So I hope this helps somebody, and that you're able to fulfill your dream, your passion. Because I've met so many people throughout the years, throughout the United States, that has so many different passions. A lot of them was hurt, and they wanted to take that hurt into doing something different. Either it'd be someone that lost someone to cancer, someone that lost somebody to homicide, to suicide, and the list goes on. We're here to work with you to bring your dream to fruition. But we're also cognitive of the fact that most Black nonprofits, you heard the numbers, do not fare well. My whole mission as a nonprofit is to change the narrative.